Well, hey, Prosperity Collabs, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Chris Mueller, and today we've got a special guest whose journey from Hollywood to selling real estate in Temecula, California is truly an inspiring one. Now, she went from working in the entertainment industry to becoming literally one of the top agents in her area. And I got to tell you, this podcast, she's going to share a wealth of experience and insights. In this episode, you're going to learn the power of strategic networking. You're going to learn the importance of resilience in building a business. And you're going to get some very practical tips for balancing professional success with personal fulfillment. So join me in welcoming Andrea Holmes to the podcast as she shares her story, strategies for success, and valuable advice for anyone looking to thrive in their career. So without further ado, Andrea, welcome to the show.
Andrea, I want to start with a baseline. I mentioned you're one of the top lit agents in Temecula. I mean, Temecula, Murrieta, the Valley. If people aren't familiar with this area, what do they need to know?
I know everybody comes out here and they think wine country, which Temecula is definitely wine country. But we're more than wine country, and we have shopping and dining and entertainment and Old Town and, the casino. And there's just a lot to do here. So you don't have to leave Temecula if you don't want to. But, you're an hour from everything, which is cool.
Yeah. I used to tell people when I travel around the country speaking at various things that it's an hour outside of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, we're centrally located to everything in Southern California.
You are. You're an hour from Disneyland. You're an hour if you want to go skiing. You're an hour from the beach. You're 90 minutes from LA if you need to go do museums or, go to the theater. You can go to the theater down in San Diego. And you live in a really nice town as well. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get way more bang for your buck here than you are in those areas. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny. I've been coming out here since 1987. My sister moved out into the Rancho California development.
Okay.
And it's amazing how it's grown. The thing that I marvel at, I was in Los Angeles at the Getty Center with my family, and I can't tell you, I think we heard people talking about Temecula.
Which is so crazy because I didn't even know Temecula. So I grew up in Orange County, and we lived up in Hollywood, and we were writing offers on houses in 2007 and just, showing up at midnight, trying to get in to see these properties, getting outbid. I mean, just hunks of junk. And my husband kept going, there's this place, it keeps popping up online, and it's called Temecula. We should go check it out. And at the time, 2007, I mean, you're not Googling the way you are now, where YouTube videos are showing up and all these people are telling you all about it. You're just kind of seeing some wineries, some horses, and then some tract homes available, online. And we kept driving down going, okay, there's got to be something wrong with this place. And we came down several times, and it was like, no, it's really nice here.
Yeah.
And we can get a house for half the price that's, 3 times the size up here. What are we doing?
Right.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
and we bought down in Harveston in 2007. They were having sales on the houses. We had no idea what was coming. But we bought our house, and then the market crashed shortly thereafter. Value plummeted, and we just hung on to it, and we stayed there for 14 years. Yeah,
Absolutely.
14 years.
So when did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been in it for 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was before? I mean, most people I know, there's a life before.
There's a life before real estate. So I was a film student, graduated from Chapman University, interned and stuff up in LA. Last job I had up there, I was, cocktail waitressing at night, and then I was interning because you don't get paid.
Right.
During the day, I was working at a kids talent agency. Okay. So I did that. Met my husband, got married. We had our first daughter shortly thereafter. And I had fully anticipated, I'm going to be a career woman. I'm going to go to work, girl power, all of that. And I met my kid, and I was like, nope, not. I'm not going. And so we had the conversation of can we make it work? Can I stay home with her? One, the cost to put your, baby in daycare, and then the other, just not being there for it. And not everyone can do that. And I feel really, really lucky I was able to do that.
Okay.
You know, and so stayed at home with her, moved down here, had our second daughter, was still staying at home, started getting a little stir crazy of like, okay, I've been doing this, love being home with them, but like I want a little bit more for me. And I come from a family of teachers. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll get my emergency teaching credential and I'll start subbing around and, you know, get out of the house a few days a week and just kind of see what that's all about. Was no jobs down here for, you know, entertainment or film. I think we had like the Outdoor Network was like based in Temecula.
I had a friend who was in Temecula.
Yeah. And that was pretty much like it. And I just had naturally fallen into teaching because I grew up in it. You know, I went to my mom's school every Friday. I had grade papers for her, help out. So I knew it. And I loved it. It was a great gig. Didn't love the middle school so much. Loved the elementary, loved like the seniors in high school. And I subbed all of Temecula and Marietta. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go into teaching. You know, I'll probably get my elementary teaching credential. And they started laying off all the teachers. Everybody was getting their pink slips. And I just kept going, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend like $50,000 to go back to school, get my teaching credential. And what if it takes me 5 or 6 years to get hired? You know, so I thought, okay, well, this isn't working. And so I'll just keep subbing and go from there. And then I thought, well, I really still interested in the entertainment industry. What else can I do? So I thought, okay, I'll go into like entertainment law. So I went, took all the classes, took my LSAT, you know, scored really well on it. Got full ride scholarships to plenty of schools like across the nation. And then started thinking about it again of like, this is really cool. This would be such a fun gig. This is something that, you know, I would enjoy, but I'm going to be gone all the time. And then I'm going to miss everything. And my husband had kept telling me like, I really think you should go into real estate. And I was like, I am not going to be a used car salesman. Like, this is not happening. I was like, I am not going on a billboard. I'm not going to be on the side of the car. And I'm not going to be that annoying person. You know, I'm not doing it. And we fought about it a lot. And then, you know, after the whole kind of law school thing happened, and I just said, you know, I don't want to miss out on my kids. And I, you know, you only get them for, you know, 18 years and then they leave you. I mean, my oldest is leaving me in a year. You know, what can I do where I have some flexibility with my schedule? And, you know, can I do real estate and be happy with it? And I truly thought, I'm going to do it and I'm going to hate it. And I got my license and it was really hard. I mean, it was 8 months. I didn't have a single transaction, you know, a lot of tears shed, a lot of money spent, like, you know, getting the website up. Like, I was at a brokerage where I had to do everything on my own. So it wasn't like you come, you know, to KW and it's like, here's your website, here's your signs, you know, here's all your marketing paperwork, here's everything you need for your presentations. Like, I had to do it all on my own. And how I got into that, I have no idea. It was like, went to an office, met the guy, and I was like, I'll work here. He's like, great, here's the paperwork, you know, and did it. And yeah, it was 8 months, but what saved me was I had a good friend in the Valley, and he ran like a networking group, but it wasn't like a BNI, like official BNI group. It was like an off BNI group, so you're not paying those dues. And he had called me, he said, Andrea, the agent that we have in our group is leaving. Do you want that spot? And I was like, yes, I want the spot. So I showed up the next day and joined the group, and it helped me get, you know, my feet off the ground because I was meeting local people that had their own businesses in the community, and got my first transaction from somebody in that group, and then got another transaction from somebody in that group, and started to slowly build my business that way. You know, but we all think we're going to get our license and the phone's just going to ring, and no, that does not happen at all. You know, and unfortunately, like, Temecula seems big, but it's not, because I don't know how many agents you know, but I have friends and they know 10 agents, you know, so it's really not hard to find somebody, you know, it's really truly easy to find an agent. It's finding the right agent for you for what you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, it's funny how I got here because I never ever expected this was going to be my job. I never thought I was going to be my own business owner, and I could never ever imagine doing a 9 to 5, clocking in and out, having so many vacation days. Like, I couldn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to back up a couple steps because I think there's some stuff to unpack. So you were in the entertainment industry, and you said working for a kids agency.
Yeah. And I worked in restaurants. I opened restaurants in college for Wolfgang Puck. I went to, flew to places like Chicago and stuff, and I opened up restaurants, and I was always in a customer-based kind of business, and I worked in restaurants since I was 14 and, hostess, runner, waitress, all of that. And so I knew what it was like to give good customer service. Absolutely. And I knew what the expectations were. And I loved it because, you work 4 hours, you make a couple $100, and it's a great day. And I'm moving, I'm not standing, still. So I've always been really good at, running around, and that's kind of always how I've been. I'm not naturally sit here all day kind of gal. So back to the talent agency, it was a really cool job. You're learning entertainment, but it was also a rough job too, because my job as the intern was to fire the kids. Wow. So it was like, hey, Andrea, so-and-so, gained a little weight and, face is breaking out. We can't use them right now. I need you to let them go. Yeah. So I'd have to, get on the phone with the owner, and not the owners, with the parents, or send an email out, because if it's not working, we got to find, somebody that it's working with. So, right. And then my other job was entertaining, kids when they'd come in, they'd practice for an audition, and then the parents would meet with, the manager to kind of go over expectations, and I would entertain the kids. Yeah. And that was super fun for me because, I love kids. But, it was a good job in terms of just learning the ins and outs.
So entertainment industry. Hospitality industry. Move down here. You study for law school. You take the LSAT, right? So, I mean, I guess you then joined this business networking group, and I just the 8 months of struggle, right? All that business networking group comes together. You're sitting with all these business people, and you start to get transactions from it. A lot of agents would end up in that group, and they would have a very they would be intimidated. Right, new agents who didn't have business. What do you think about your background?
My friend said, "Don't be intimidated. Go in." He literally was like, "You're gonna go in, and you're gonna show up, and you're gonna pretend like you've been doing this for a long time."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I was like, "Okay, this sounds really good," And I have like my sweaty hand with my business card. It's like, "Hi," and it's funny because I would have thought they would have been like, how long have you been doing this for, and how many houses have you sold? And it really kind of never came up.
Yeah.
There was one person it came up to, but it wasn't like a big deal to this particular person in the group, and we got along really well and referred to each other. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to go in and go with it. And my broker that I had at the time, he was, really, really good as well in terms of training me and teaching me contracts and really taking the time to go over every little detail. I mean, he made me do the first 12 or 15, I think, transaction paperwork all by myself. Like, nobody was allowed to touch it. And I wouldn't get paid until everything was done perfectly. Right. And so it was like, nope, you forgot this box, or no, you didn't do this. You got to fix it, and then you'll get paid. And so I knew, like, I got to get this turned in, or I'm never going to get paid.
So if you're listening and you're not in the real estate industry, what that means is there was no transaction coordinator.
Correct. So nobody's doing my paperwork throughout the transaction, which is a huge assist, especially if you're busy. Right. It's time consuming. I would spend 3 or 4 hours at night going through everything at the end of the day to make sure that it was in compliance.
Well, every other professional you work with, if it's a lawyer or it's an accountant, or they all have someone who does that, right?
Yes. And I wasn't allowed to, and I didn't know any different. I didn't know, like, oh, I get my license, I come to KW, and they have a TC on staff from day one, and somebody's helping me right away. It was like, nope, you've got to figure this out. And he would call me and go, why'd you check that box? And I'd be sweating like, because I think you're supposed to. And he's like, nope, tell me another answer. Or I get an offer in. So what's the first thing you look for when you get an offer? And I'm like, the price. And he goes, no, you see who the agent is on the other side. You pull them up on the DRE website. You see how long they've been licensed for, and you do your homework on them because you want to know if you're going to be working with this person, what the experience is going to be like. And I went, oh, I thought it was like price and how many days is it going to take, to close. So yeah, he taught me so much. I mean, it's invaluable. And that is one thing that I would definitely recommend anybody starting out in the business. Take the time, deal with the pain of learning it, because it's going to help you down the line. You're going to know your contracts in and out. You're going to sit down with your sellers and your buyers, and you'll be able to explain to them confidently and concisely, what's on these contracts and what they're signing.
I just was teaching a class on negotiating, and one of the things that literally brought this up is, the worst feeling is that I'm being sold, right? Nobody wants to be sold. No. And a lot of times we're uncomfortable with explaining the contract, or we think, oh, I'm going to bore them. And so we just kind of rush through it.
Yeah.
Well, then the person on the other side of that transaction or on the other side of the contract they're not thinking you're saving me time. They're thinking you're selling me, right?
Exactly. And you have to be able to read the room, and you have to know too, I have a client that's going to want me to go through every single line with them. And I have a client that's going to trust me and just sign everything blindly because they don't care. And I'm going to have the ones where they're just going to want the cliff notes.
Right.
And you ask them, how much detail do you want me to go into this with you? Because I can sit here for 4 hours and go line by line with you, or we can be done in 20 minutes if you want the cliff notes. But I'm here to explain it to you however you need it, to make sure that you feel good about what you're signing and you understand it, yeah.
I think it makes a huge difference. You're obviously smart. Right. And I think that makes a big difference too, where a lot of people would have gone into that business and action meeting, and there's nothing anyone could have said to them that would have made them not be intimidated.
Yeah.
But you've got under your belt, you were working in entertainment, which is...
It's not an easy... LA is definitely, I remember going on interviews just to get a job as a cocktail waitress. And you would think, okay, this can't be that hard. And I would show up and there'd be 100 people for one job,
right.
Right. And I remember one of the interviews I went on, I was the last person to be interviewed, and I was the only one that got hired out of those 100 people. And I don't know why and how, I just knew that I was lucky and I got the job. I went to another interview, and the first question is what are you going to offer me that, somebody else can't? And I just sat there and looked at him like, really? This is this, and it was a 1-question interview.
Yeah.
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 It's a rough industry.
It's a very rough industry, and you're waiting on high-end clientele. You're waiting on celebrities. You're waiting on people that have high expectations and, do that. And you've got to be able to pivot and move with that.
Yeah. So you found out how to survive there and to do well, but then also you've got that background in law. I mean, I think that speaks to who you are, right? There's a very customer service based personality.
Yes, very much customer service based. Yeah.
And you're going to pick up on things that probably other people aren't, So it took you 8 months to get the first transaction.
It did. So my first year, I think I sold 7 houses my first year.
Yeah.
And it was all from the span of the 8 to 12 months. So I definitely got a little bit of traction there, which was really cool for me, because what started off as oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to make this. This is really freaking hard. To, I don't even know if I want to make this. This is really hard to, oh my gosh, I've made it. How do I keep making it happen? And so that was okay, well, I've got referrals from this group, and I never got into the business of I'm going to sell a zillion houses a year. I got in of I sell 5 or 10. This is a great world. I'm paying for my kids' private school. You know, we can go on vacation, we can have a little money in savings. Like, life's great this way. Never, ever expected to do more than that. Never thought it was going to be a full-time gig. And I should have known personality-wise, that's not the way I am. I can't just like work 2 days and take 3 days off. I'm not that person. But it grew from there for me. And I went, okay, so how do I sustain this? How do I keep going, and how do I build a business that, you know, is sustainable on a daily basis and is going to be consistent and give me the results that I want? And my broker was really, he was like, you should do farming. I was like, I don't even know what that is, you know?
I don't like cattle.
I was like, what is farming? Like, do I walk around the neighborhood? Do I say hi to people? Like, do I walk my dog? You know, and I ended up finding this book, and it was like 7 styles of communication. And it talked all about real estate and what kind of agent do you want to be? And I had like the driver. Do you know what this book is?
No, I mean, I don't think I've
It's
read this
called,
one, but
it's really good. And I recommend it to people because it's called 7 Styles, How to Design Your Real Estate Career. And it's super interesting because it goes over personality types and what you would be good at. And I was like, I'm never going to be a cold caller or a door knocker. Like, that is not me. Like, you know, they have cold calling nights at the office. And I was like, I'm not going to that. Like, I am not going to find that list. I am not picking up that phone, you know, give me something else to do, but that is not going to be it. And I started reading on the farming, and I went, oh, I like this. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I'm going to focus on this. And I noticed the neighborhood that I lived in, there was one agent dominated in there. And I was looking at what they were doing, and I went, I can do that. And they take cell phone photos. I can hire a professional photographer. And I thought, okay, well, how am I going to get hired in here? Because nobody knows me. You know, I don't have any, I had like 3 friends. I met some moms. We were in a play group. We're still friends today, but you know, I only have a handful of friends. And then, you know, I know people in the schools, but not well enough. I was a sub. I wasn't, you know, a day-to-day fully on staff. So I kind of read up on this, and then I had people kind of help me go, okay, this is kind of, you need to put flyers. You need to drop flyers. And I went, okay, I can't afford to pay anybody to drop flyers, so I guess I'm dropping these flyers. And so I don't think we even had podcasts at the time, but there was like a real estate coach I was following. I really liked him. I still like him today. His name's Travis Robertson. He was based out of Orange County. I think he's like in Florida now. But I bought like his series online, and I had the attached ear pods to the, oh gosh, what is it called?
Was it the Discman or
I think the iPod, yeah. And I just said, okay, I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to keep learning, and I'm just going to drop these flyers. And it'd take me like 5 days. 5 days to drop these flyers off. And then I went, okay, I'm going to call every agent every weekend, and I'm just going to sit here and hold an open house every weekend and have my signs. And I'm going to just brand myself. I'm going to be the harvest in real estate, an expert. And I did. I sat every weekend for a full year on everybody's listings until somebody called me and hired me. And I got my first gig in there. And then I got my second gig in there. And then it really started to move from there. But I love farming. That's my thing. Yeah.
What I love about this is you said there was one agent who was just dominating.
Yeah. Like they were the sales rep for one of the builders in Harveston. Okay. So they were there. They had the lead. They were there since, you know, it was established in 2004. They were there, and everybody knew who they were, and they were great agents. And, you know, to go up against them, it was really scary for me because I thought, it's just me. And I've got to learn these houses. I've got to know who built this, because there was 4 or 5 builders in there. I've got to know the floor plans, you know, and I've got to be able to say, why hire me versus them who's been here long enough?
But you did. I mean, I think that's what's interesting is there are a lot of agents. There's you know, I think there's a lot of people in whatever industry, real estate or beyond, who say, I can't because And that's a
Well,
pretty
you
strong I can't
can because
Okay, tell me
you
about that.
can. Well, because, I mean, at the end of the day, what's going to happen if you don't make it happen? You're going to figure something else out. In my mind, I'm going, I have nothing to lose here. I have the ability to walk. I have the time to do this. And I know it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to sit and keep doing this. I'm going to keep going to my networking group because I know that things are going to happen there.
Yeah.
But my focus is like, this is what I want to do. And this is what I want to be good at,
Yeah.
And that's just what I did.
Yeah, I love it because, Coke is the number one brand in the world, but Pepsi's number two. And the thing is, would you be Pepsi? Absolutely, I'd be Pepsi.
Oh, I would not complain over it.
Right. Yeah. And so you're looking at
I'll
it
be
as like,
Barks root beer. Like, I'm good with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you look at an area where you have a dominant agent like that, and you can write that story about why it can't be successful, or you can say, you know what, there's some people who don't like them. There's some people who are looking for another alternative. There's some people who like Pepsi.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have to go.
And that's the thing. Like, there's going to be people that are going to love me and hire me because I'm the right fit. And there's going to be ones that go, no, she's not it. Yeah. Or there's going to be appointments I've been on where I go, we're not going to work right. I'm not the right person for you. Yeah. Because we all fit the way we're supposed to fit with each other. Yeah.
Totally.
And you have to be okay with that in this business. And I think a lot of people come in and just think, oh, I didn't get the listing, and they may have given an excellent presentation, but it just wasn't the right fit personality-wise.
Right.
And I went on a ton of those appointments. I did, I moved to ERA in 2016, and I was running the relocation. I was doing relocation division. And, you go up against, 3 or 4 really good top agents here in the Valley, like good agents. And I never got all of them because personality-wise, you just weren't going to. But what I knew was for so many appointments I went on, I was going to get one. So I had to figure out what my ratio was for successful, hires.
Okay.
And so then I started learning how to figure out, okay, I have to go on this amount of appointments in order to win this amount of listings. Because I'm not going to get somebody who's just going to call me because they know, like, and trust me because I haven't built that up yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I want to underline what you just said, because this has come up before. I've had a guy who flips properties, and he said, I just know for every amount of blank I do, I get this many appointments. And I think there's something magical about when you start approaching your business that way, it's a business, right? And so you knew if I go on X number of appointments, there's an average, I'm going to get X number of listings or by whatever it was. And boy, that changes everything.
It does change everything. And it's so funny now because I'm at the point in my career where I just have to have 2 conversations a week to hit what I need to hit.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, it was like, I've got to have, 10 or 20 conversations a week because I may get 1 or 2 from this. Now I know I have 2 conversations a week. Usually the conversations that I have are with people I already know.
Right.
Or somebody who's been referred to me that I know.
Is a conversation an appointment, or is that just
like, what is the conversation?
It could be, hey, Andrea, get us set up on a search. We're going to get ready to find something. Or, hey, Andrea, I was referred to you by a friend, looking to sell my property type conversation. Right. So 9 times out of 10, it is conversations that lead to an appointment. There is rarities where you just get, I get a random phone call.
Sure.
But I don't usually count that in like my algorithm. I'm counting like true, like I'm color coded. I color code everything like a weirdo. So I have the green box, which is like the incubating box. And then I have the yellow box, which is like in the process. And then I have like the pink box, which means like, hey, we've signed, a deal. So I can see how it goes down my sheet because I keep year over year. So each year I show every single week how many positive contacts I made, and you can see which ones have closed, which go to red. Okay. So it's really cool for me because I can see, I talked to that person because, we always talk about the 90-day rule. Like what you're doing now will come to fruition in 90 days.
Right.
Okay. So I always like to see the 90-day rule when I go down there. Oh, I met that person on this date, and we closed in this house, on this date type of thing.
So so you're saying conversation. It sounds like these are people who've raised their hand and they say we want to do something, right? And so I love your system, the color coded system, because what I think someone listening is saying is, I've got a way to stay in relationship with those people from the moment they raise their hand until the moment they close, one way or the other. And I'm tracking to see what my ratio is.
Yes. And you can track doing this through a CRM as well. And I have CRMs, but for me, this system works the best for me. And I want to do a system that I know is going to work and one that I'm going to look at every day. Where I know a lot of top agents here, they've got their CRM, they set them up on certain campaigns, and they have, reminders that are popping up. I don't do it that way. I have people in my CRMs, but I just don't run it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So at any given time, how many people are floating around in your pipeline, in your color coded system?
It could be 4 people. It could be 10 people. It just really depends on, back in January, it was bananas. February's was bananas. It's slowed down a little bit the last few weeks and it's just started picking back up again. So, it's like riding the wave.
Absolutely.
You don't know how the wave is going to hit. It never hits like, oh, I'm going to close 5 houses a month. Every month is going to be 5. It's like, no, this month is 15. Next month is 1, or this month is 5. Next month is 2. Yeah. But then I track year over year. So I have, since I got my license, I have every month how many transactions I've closed. And then I compare it because I find it so interesting because I love data so much. I'm a data junkie. So I like to go, oh, this January, I only closed, hypothetically, 2 houses. 2017, I closed 2 houses. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then it's fun to compare it to the COVID years because nothing's normal in that, and I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, especially now.
Well, it's a business owner mentality. I had an agent I consult with the other day, and they've been just stressed out. I'm behind. I don't feel like I hit my goals and this. And I pulled her multi-year trends. What you're saying. We looked at it year over year, and I said, "You realize you just had your best quarter ever?"
I know. I had the same conversation with my broker this year. I go, "Gosh, I feel like I'm just not doing enough right now. I'm kind of bored." And they go, "What are you talking about? Like, you're doing better than you were doing, last year." And then I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like crazy person thinking that I wasn't doing what I needed to do. But we kind of always have that because everybody posts online. Oh, look at me. I've done this. I've done that. And then you start to feel like you're not doing well enough. And then you have to have your come to Jesus moment of like, this is my goal. It's not this person's goal. Yeah. And what am I focusing on? And okay, I didn't hit what I was supposed to hit. So how am I going to make up for that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 things. I think it's the gap and the gain, right? Am I living in the gap or am I living in the gain, right? Because we all have these goals we want to get to. And the goals by its nature is always far away. And so if I live in the gap all the time, I'm never happy. But if I live in the gain, I can say, well, look where I was and how I'm getting closer.
And that's a really, really hard thing to understand and to be okay with. It's really tough because we're always comparing ourselves to others. We're in a business where you aren't getting a steady paycheck. You have to work sales only, commission only. And, for some people, that one appointment may be the only appointment they have for the month. And that means a lot to them. Yeah. Absolutely. And so we compare ourselves constantly, because you want to learn from others as well, but then you start to compare yourself of, oh man, they closed 8 sales this month and I only closed 4, and oh, poor me. And it's like, you closed 4 sales this month. You should be freaking like jumping up and down and going out to eat because you had 4 sales. Even if you had 1 sale, like that's amazing. Yeah.
And if you have that perspective you mentioned where you're looking at your trends going, I'm right on trend. Or I'm ahead of trend.
Yeah.
Right? Or, X% closer to where I wanted to be. I mean, that's huge. I think there's a part of it too, though. I mean, as an industry, we kind of have to acknowledge we've been at 4,500,000 sales nationally.
We're down 40%.
Well, these are 2008 numbers,
yeah.
Right? This is the bottom of it. I think 4 million is just the baseline where we would be.
That was in 2008?
I think that's like if it's just death.
Okay.
Right? We're about 4,500,000.
Okay.
We're still really low. And all of that in industry angst on top, even if you're killing it, you kind of feel like, I'm not doing too well. Like
it's really hard to get
Well, and then you come off of COVID too, where you've had these extraordinary years of sales where you sold more than you ever have. And then you come into last year. I mean, last year was a slow start. I mean, I look at my numbers and go, wow, that was a really, really, I mean, the first 6 months, it was a really, you were crawling through mud to get deals done. And, you're coming off of these busy years and then, it stops and you go, okay, rates have gone up substantially. Home prices are kind of hanging on up here. I can't have the same goals as I did the last 2 years or the same expectations. So what is realistic? And even then, can I make it? Because we just didn't know, you know?
I mean, it's, I think it kind of segues to this industry is hard.
It's very hard. And I know a lot of agents came in during COVID and thought it was so easy. And like, I sold 10 houses my first year in real estate. And it's like, number one, that's amazing. But number two, how did you do it? Because you have to source it back. And that's the other thing I do is I source everything to see where is my business coming from and how am I putting my money into my business. If I'm spending, $10,000 a month on Zillow and I'm not getting any returns, is that the right way for me to spend my money? And I spent years working on my business plan, and I called it the cookie jars because I tell everybody you should have your hands in lots of cookie jars because there's a lot of lead funnels out there and there's a lot of way to bring in business. You can't just put it all in one spot, and so farming could be one. I've done the Redfin partner agent thing for years. That's a jar. I did the referral group until COVID happened. And I actually ended up starting my own referral group. And I'm still friends with everybody in the group and we still refer to each other. But I always said, figure out where your sources are. Are you an open house person that can just convert 5 people immediately that come through? And figure out what kind of budget you can have. But like you're running a business, you have to be able to spend money on marketing yourself. And that's a lot of the problems I see is people want to make the money, but they won't invest in themselves. They won't walk the flyers. They won't take an ad out, in front of one of the schools. They won't do those things. And I think that's what really does separate us from the people that are doing well and the people that aren't doing well. It's just, it's not in my budget. And it's like, yeah, it wasn't in my budget either. But I knew I was going to make it back. You just have to have faith in yourself. It's like opening up like a mechanical shop that you're fixing cars and not advertising and just hoping people are going to walk in.
Yeah. Well, I think you nailed it, right? You had a business plan. You made an investment.
Yes.
You're not just throwing money into the wind. You said, where are my leads coming from? What's converting?
And I knew, and I would give things, you can't just give it a month. I'd give it 6 months. Okay, I'm going to try this out for 6 months. Let's see if anything comes out of it. Yeah. And Zillow during COVID was incredible. Oh my gosh, the amount of leads that we got in, it was insane. And then COVID ended. Zillow switched over to the Flex program, and it died down substantially. And I went, okay, well, I'm not going to be pouring as much as I'm pouring into this because it's not working, but I don't want to lose it because it's been good for me. And I still do well organically on there. And I do have a little bit of ad spend on there, but not like what I was spending, during that time. But you find what works. And then I think too, just being in the business longer, I think that helps as well.
Well, it's a business owner mentality again, right? You're checking the ROI. You're watching it. You're not throwing good money after bad.
And you're paying your dues. Yeah.
No, explain that to me, paying your dues.
Paying your dues, sitting at the open houses, getting up and putting the work in and I work 12, 14-hour days. I still work every weekend, but I was really working every weekend. It was like I would get up, I would show houses, I would do an open house, and I would show houses. I took every single appointment that came my way. I didn't pick and choose who I was going to work with. If I got the call, I was going on the appointment. And a lot of people don't want to lose their weekends. you know?
You're in the wrong business.
And it's tough that way because you want to have time with your family and you want to do all of that. And I learned over the years, Wednesday's my day. I'm going to take the kids get out early. We're going to go to Disneyland on Wednesdays. That's going to be our fun day during the week. And we did it every single week, you know, and it was like, Mom's not going to be here this weekend, but sure as heck, we're going to be at Disneyland on Wednesday.
So I love this because I say I love this a lot, but that was one of the questions I had because it was really clear, like your kids, that's a priority.
Oh, my kids are my everything.
And
yeah.
This industry will eat you up.
It will eat you up.
If you let it. And so I was going to ask that about how do you balance that? But you just.
Well, I mean, yeah. And I have an amazing husband. You know, he travels a ton. He was traveling a ton for a year. It's like gone Monday through Friday.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I handled the week and he always handled the weekends, you know, and that's what you do. You support each other through that. But yeah, I mean, I'm still go as much as I can. And now that I've done this, as long as I've done this, you know, it's easier for me to be able to go do the stuff on the weekends if it's important.
Now, what about leverage? I mean, what's your organization, I guess? Is it just you or is it you have a partner, you have admin?
So it's a little funky. So it's me. I have an assistant and I have my, you know, TC that I've had for forever. And then there's an agent in the office that I work with that helps with overflow. So during COVID, she helped with overflow. And she always has my back if I need anything at all. And she'll co-list with me from time to time.
Okay.
And then my broker's wife, Sarah, like we farm summer's been together and we do that together as a team.
Okay.
And I found that to be really fun because you get to go and collaborate with somebody and you get to learn how they do things and we get along really well. And we have so much fun when we go on our appointments together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found over the years, because I always thought, oh, I'll just go handle it. It's kind of nice to have somebody, you know.
Absolutely.
Especially, I had a couple of land deals last year, and Kristen, she works with me, and she's my right-hand backup person. And her knowledge of land is like phenomenal, you know. And she taught me things that I would have never learned, and I taught her things that she probably would have never learned. So that's been a blast the past few years, being able to work with other people.
There's an abundance mindset here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also in the way you've approached your lead generation. You mentioned investing in your business. You know, you're working with other people that, you know, there's part of that. Now we share a little commission when we do this.
Yes.
And I think there's some people who would say, no, I'm not giving anything up, right?
You're going to give something up somewhere. I mean, you're going to buy leads online, whether you're paying for them or you're giving. I mean, referral fees are like 40% now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Well, and what you're saying to me is, I work with other agents, but I get a better quality of life.
I get a better quality of life. My clients get a great experience because they've got two people going to bat for them that are on the same page and that have the same mentality of like, we're going to hustle and we're going to make this happen for you. And yeah, you get a better quality of life. Yeah.
What's a lifestyle you want to live? And because in this industry, you can make a lot of money, but you can lose your life.
You did. During COVID, made the most money I've ever made and had no life. Right. You know, I came off of COVID going, I don't want to sell even half of what I sold these last 2 years because I had no life and I just ran nonstop. And it's really great, but you're exhausted, you know, and you miss time with the kids. And I can't get that back.
No.
You know?
Yeah, Gary Keller talks about, he had a friend and he said, well, I know I'm working really hard right now, but, 5 years I'll be able to kind of spend more
That's
time.
not guaranteed.
No. And basically his comment was, you're an idiot.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed. And I always remember my mom telling me this story of this like young couple that got married and, all the stuff they were going to do once they hit this goal at like 39. They were going to retire at 39. They were going to just work so hard to get there, and they ended up like dying. And she thought, gosh, what like a waste of life. You never got to travel. You never got to do anything because you were so focused on, I'm going to retire at this age, that you stopped living, And so I thought, how can I find the balance to where it's not about competition. It's not about me selling the most amount of houses. It's not about me competing with you of, I sold 50 houses, you sold 52 type thing. It's about what's going to work for my life and my lifestyle So what do I want for me and my family? Okay, I want to sell this amount of houses this year. I want my GCI to be this. Figure out which one, if it's how many houses you have to sell to meet that or whatever. You know the formula there. And then what else do I want to do? I want to go on vacation. Okay, how many trips do I want to go on this year? You know, and that's a huge component in like my family lifestyle. Like we go out of town. We love going out of town. We love traveling. You know, we're always picking up and going somewhere. So how can I fit 3 or 4 trips into my calendar year? You know, and then how can I make it where I'm not working every single weekend? I know there's going to be times where I work every weekend for a month because it's just the way it works.
Right.
But delegating, because I've always been really, really bad at that. I have a hard time letting somebody take over something that I've worked really hard on. And that's a big thing I've worked on the last couple of years of, you're going to help with my open house and you're going to be very capable and it's going to be okay. And I don't have to physically be at every single one. My owners know the outcome is going to be just as good with this person as it would be with me.
Well, it's moving from the entrepreneur mindset of I have to do everything. This is my baby. To the business owner mindset that says I'm going to invest in other people, and those other people are going to get the leverage and the freedom.
Yes, and this is like the second year where I've really had a lot more free time to do the things that I've wanted to do. Like I went to brunch for the first time ever. No, sorry, like take second time ever since I've lived in Temecula last weekend.
Wow.
And I went, wow.
I feel like this is the brunch capital of California. You know what I mean?
It was a bad brunch too. But it was brunch and I went, and the kids, we all left. They go, that was really fun. We should do that more often. I go, yeah, we really should be doing this more often, you know, because you get so engrossed in work. And then it was even like my husband and I, like, we hadn't been going out at all. Like, you know, I'd come home tired. He comes home tired, you know, open a bottle of wine, eat some dinner, watch some TV, pass out. And it was like, we've got to make the effort too here. Like we have a standing date night now every Saturday night. We go to the same place. We're creatures of habit. And that's just been such a blast this year because it's like, it's just us. You know, the kids are at the age where they're fine. I mean, they're 14 and 17. You know, they don't need to come with us. And him and I can focus on each other and just have a nice time together and hang out and, you know, do our thing. Yeah.
Well, I think for people listening, this is great because you're achieving at a high level. But you came into it because you wanted this lifestyle. Right. And again, the business grows, it flows, and all those things.
It does. It grows and flows, and you have to be okay with it.
You make decisions, but you're making decisions to readjust course.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And, you know, if you're just a couple degrees off, you end up someplace you don't want to be. And so the readjustment is really important, but also takes courage, right? Takes some confidence. You know, we've talked about real estate's hard. And it's a very self-driven thing.
Yes.
How do you motivate yourself? I mean, so you know, coming out of 2020, the COVID years, when you're just exhausted. Into a market right now where, I mean, there just aren't as many opportunities.
No, there's definitely not as many opportunities, and every opportunity counts in this market. And I think that's really important. It's not a, you know, oh, I'll get the next one. It's like, no, this one actually, you know, it counts. It's just, you know, you've got to wake up with that mindset of like, this is my job. I have to show up. If I don't show up, somebody else is going to show up. Okay. And I have to have a routine in place. You know, it's not I wake up at 10 and maybe I'll go to the office at 1. Like I know my schedule for the week a week before. You know, I know what my days are going to look like. And I plug and play, into my calendar, the things that are important to me. So is it going to the gym? Is it going, you know, to the horse stables? My daughter rides horses. I spend a ton of time out there with her. Is it going, you know, to just going for a walk, you know, with my dog? But for me, a huge component is health for me. I really enjoy working out. That is my mental health, like sanity. Have to do that 5 days a week, you know, and so that has to fit into the calendar one way or another. Whether it's early in the morning or in the evening, I make a way to fit that into my calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's if I'm not working out, I'm not getting anything else done the way as effectively as I could.
No, I just, my mindset's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, health is wealth, I mean, making the right choices, eating and, taking care of yourself, so we can be here, when our kids have kids one day, and I can travel when I'm 60 and I'm not, hurting because I'm taking care of myself.
I say this to my kids, and I think it's one of those things that they laugh at, but I go, the reason I'm working out today is because you're going to want me to take care of your kids someday, and I want to be able to do that.
Yes, and you're going to want to go to Europe and do some crazy walking, and I want to be able to be there. I mean, I remember I was 19, I was going to Europe with my grandmother in her 70s, and she outwalked me. I mean, she was such a mover, and I thought, that's how I want to be.
Yeah.
So
what are the other habits of success? Well, you mentioned your routine. Give me some insight. We're working out every day. Is that
working out?
Or...
It depends on the schedule, but it's generally in the morning. So it's whether I get up and I go to the gym, I've got a home gym, or I go, take a Pilates class, at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I try to get it done in the morning. So when it's evening time, I'm home and present. I've gotten away from it's evening, I'm still working, type thing. I really try to put work to bed at 6 o'clock unless, we all know we have clients that can only talk in the evening. I'm going to be available for them.
Sure.
Because this is a huge thing for them. But I really try to be present at that point for dinner and spending time together.
Okay, so we're trying to make that the exception, not the rule.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the workout in an ideal world happens in the morning, and then what else? What has to happen every day?
Well, I have to hit my quota for the week. So I listened to this really cool coach years ago that was like, until you've hit your quota for the week, you got to keep digging in until you make it there. So if I hit my quota on Monday, if I've got to have these 4 conversations, okay, well then I can kind of relax a little bit throughout the week. But if I haven't hit that, then I've got to keep making it until I get there. Okay. So it might not be until Saturday or Sunday when I'm doing an open house, knowing, okay, I've hit 2, but I need 4.
Right.
I've got to grab 2 this weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the work to have those conversations? I mean, is that farming? Is that marketing? Is that...
So it's farming. I farm about 4,000 houses in Temecula. And then marketing wise, that's my heavy marketing. I don't do a ton of online. I do Facebook, Instagram ads for my personal properties I have listed.
At one point you said I'm not a door knocker.
I'm not a door knocker.
So when you're farming, you're not knocking doors, or what are you doing? I mean, how are you generating the conversation?
Oh, so okay, well let's go back to this because it's a process. So farming isn't like you can knock on doors. That's something you can do. Yeah. So I have an open house this weekend. I'm going to knock the nearest 20 doors and invite them to the open house. Okay. Yeah. But that's not farming. Farming is I'm going to be your go-to neighborhood expert. And how is that going to happen? Well, there's a strategy in place of, okay, well, I'm going to send you a newsletter every month. Okay, so I do that, but is that going to be enough? No, it's not going to be enough. You've got to be involved in the community. So I do community events. So we do Harvestin', awesome, love the HOA, probably one of the best HOAs in the area. They throw more events than any HOA I know of. And everything's free. And it's just, they have food trucks every other Friday starting this month, through November. But I've worked closely with the HOA for years, and I help sponsor events in there. So I sponsor 2 movie nights a year. I do a couple of e-waste events a year in there. So there's another, one of the agents, in there, they've done the garage sale for forever. Right. And that's their thing. And I thought, well, what can I do that will bring people in that I can meet? And e-waste, so we set up a truck. I have donuts. I have, coffee and my swag and everything like that. And one, it's great for the environment because people don't know. Yeah. You don't know where to drop off your TVs and all of that. Oh, yeah. We take care of all of this for you. So not only are we helping the environment, but I'm getting to meet people and I get to have really wonderful conversations with them. Okay. And it's like the movie nights are so much fun. All the kids running around, we give out glow sticks and things like that. I did do military appreciation and then COVID happened, but that was such a fun event. Yeah, we collected like goods for troops overseas and would send it to them. We did really, really cool raffles. I'm hoping we can bring that back.
Nice.
Like
So
again,
it sounds like what you're saying is your farming approach. I'm not knocking on the door and saying, here's your market report. And, you know, what you are doing is you are serving that community.
serving the community. I started a Facebook page, before anybody did, called Harvest and Real Estate. And I was updating everybody on this just hit the market, this just sold. It was before you could get all of that, you know? And so it was like the go-to page of like, oh, hey, this house went up, this house went up, this one just sold. And people really loved it. Yeah. And I remember calling agents and saying, is it okay? Can I feature your property on here? Now it's just everybody shares each other's properties and it's great because it's free advertising. But back then there was a lot of rules and regulations and the board told me you have to call each agent and ask them if you can advertise their listing. Right. So each time a house would come up, I would call the agent, say, hey, I have this Facebook page. It's free promotion for you. Yeah. Can I feature your property? All your information will be on there. And that's what I did. I still run it today. Yeah. Yeah.
So the farming is a huge part of how I'm going to have those conversations. If you're not getting them from the farming, what's the next lever you pull? You said open houses.
Open houses, circle prospecting. I don't physically do any circle prospecting. I will do some door knocking before my open houses if it's one of my listings, invite people to come over. Just really, it's sphere. Yeah. I really go after my sphere. I have conversations with people I know. Yeah. On a daily basis.
Is that hey, how are you doing? Is that
Depends on the person. Okay. So friend is different than, kind of my friend versus you've just been a client of mine, but just going, hey, I'm going to check in and just see, how this client of mine's doing, whether it's a phone call, a text, or an email. And it's just fun too to see. I just had a conversation with one of my clients this morning. We have a property management division that I'm part owner on, and he bought a house from me and then he bought a rental house from me. And I was calling him this morning. It's like, hey, we've got a broken dishwasher. I'm going to get it ordered. Don't, worry about it. And then was just catching up with him, and he's telling me things he's done to the property, and it's just fun to catch up with people. And then, oh, hey, by the way, I have a friend, they may be looking, type, very organic conversation.
I love it. My approach or my thought on this is that database, when we think of our sphere, we think of this, it gives you permission to be very intentional about friendship.
Yes. And I am very good at keeping in touch. So every past client of mine, I know their home anniversary. I know their birthdays. I know where they live. And they're going to hear from me every day, every month until they move. So they're going to get a newsletter from me every month. They're going to get a pop by from me quarterly saying hi. They're going to get a birthday card and a Starbucks card for their birthday. And they're going to get a home anniversary, postcard in the mail. And then they're going to get various emails throughout the year of me just checking in to see if they need anything. Yeah. And that's a big thing is we start to forget people's names and phone numbers.
Oh, yes.
And I don't think, because I was listening to a podcast the other day and it's like they did a survey of buyers. It was like, would you use your agent again? And it's like 9 out of 10 said, yeah, we would absolutely use our agent. So it's not a matter of, I sold you a house 6 years ago. You can't remember my name anymore. You can't call me, and so it's keeping top of mind, with them. And I'm really good about being consistent. That's just always been my MO. Right. And so, my assistant knows, she messages me at the end of the month, who won the trivia and the newsletter, who do you want to thank? Can you check the list to make sure all of these people are correct for the birthday cards? Can you check the anniversaries? And here's what we're going to drop off. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe we're crossed over an hour.
Oh my goodness.
Conversation. It goes by quick. I mean, it went by quick with you. Yeah. There have been some of these I've done where I thought, this is the longest hour of my life. By one name. But this went really quick. Yeah. Andrea, what's next? I mean, you're at this point in your career where you're doing very well with it. We've been through crazy markets.
Yes.
What's next in your evolution?
Next in my evolution is really just to keep doing what I'm doing and doing it really well and giving my clients the best experience they can get, you know, being their right hand person throughout the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in and for sharing these insights into your business. And, you know, I think if you are a mid-level agent and you're looking at, you know, how do I grow? How do I do this?
And
Or you're any
call
kind of
me. I
entrepreneur.
can tell you.
Well, that was my next question. That was, how do people find you online if they wanted to find you?
Oh, they can just Google my name online. My phone number is going to come up.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, anybody ever wants to talk. I love sharing with people.
Yeah.
I love collaborating with people.
Yeah.
And I love people that actually put like the plan into place, you know, because that's hard.
Yeah. Well, take a swing, you know, take a swing, take a risk. And you've done that, and you've done it in with a business owner mindset. And I think that's gone a long way to your success. And I'm sure there's much more success to come, but thank you so much. So if you're looking for online,
Having me.
Andrea Holmes.
My first podcast, you guys. So.
There you go. Well, hopefully not the last. And we'll have you come back in again maybe for a mastermind.
Yeah, it'd be super fun.
Awesome. Very cool.
Thank you.
Well, hey, Prosperity Collabs, thanks guys for listening. Spread the news and take some of what you've heard and go ahead and put that into practice in your business as well. Catch you next time.
You should listen to, do you ever listen to like the Armchair Expert